All right, everybody. This is another episode of Junior Resource Investing, episode 15. I'm excited today to have John Miniotis of AbraSilver on. This is a play that I like quite a bit, and I'm excited to have him on the show. Just as always, a disclaimer here, though, that this is not financial advice. We are not your financial advisors. You have to make your own decisions, and this is for entertainment purposes only, right? So I have a full disclaimer in the YouTube notes below, so please check those out. Otherwise, John is the president and CEO of AbraSilver. Abra is a primarily silver explorer and developer whose core project is their ultra-high-grade Diablilos project in the Salta province of Argentina. I hope I got that one pronounced correctly there, John. They trade under the ticker Abra, ABRA.V on the venture, and ABBRF on the OTC in the U.S. John, it's nice to meet you. We've had a couple of email exchanges, but this is our first time meeting face-to-face. How is your morning so far?
Oh, going wonderfully. Thanks very much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and we had some technical difficulties prior to recording, and John's already demonstrated himself to be a patient man, so that's good.
No problem at all.
So anyway, John, the way I usually start this is I just ask you to, give us a 30-second or a 1-minute elevator pitch on Abra. Why is your story compelling, and why should investors be compelled or interested in your story?
Yeah, perfect. So AbraSilver is an advanced stage silver and gold exploration company. We have a very exciting story. We own 100% of a large project, as you mentioned, called Diablilos. It has a measured and indicated resource base now of 110 million ounces of silver and 1.3 million ounces of gold in the ground. But I guess, in terms of why investors should care, look, this is a project that's very unique. And I think over the past few years now, we've proven it has tremendous exploration potential. In fact, as part of our drill programs over the last couple of years now, we've been consistently hitting some of the highest grades of silver, of any primary silver asset in the world. And now, importantly, on top of that, we have a brand new discovery. That's the Jack target that I'm sure we'll talk about, which is looking incredibly promising. Based on all the results we've received to date. So I guess, for investors, look, I think we check a number of boxes. We have a project here that's large scale, has very good grades, importantly, lots of exploration upside, and then combine that with a very compelling valuation. And I think that's what we offer here.
Mm-hmm. And you are, I think that in your slide deck, it's 6 of the 8 highest primary silver deposit grades in the last year or so, and silly season stuff, right? Just ridiculous grades. So I would encourage people to check out your slide deck. But why don't we, before we transition into talking about Abra and Jack and the Diablilos project, could you just discuss just your own personal history? Where were you prior to Abra, and how did you end up at Abra?
Sure. Yeah, so I have a finance background. I graduated from the University of Toronto. But I guess my entire career has been focused in the mining sector, really focused on corporate development and mergers and acquisitions. And so throughout my career, I've worked for a number of large companies like Barrick Gold, Lundin Mining, and then also worked a few years doing equity research for 2 investment banks in Toronto, where I covered mining equities. But essentially how I ended up at Abra, I was running a small junior called Aethon Minerals. Our mandate was to find a new asset and grow the company. And so really together with my team there, we spent about 1.5 years looking for acquisition opportunities all across Latin America. We came across this company back then. It was called Abra Plata, which had a nice asset. But the former management team had completely run out of cash. So the project was essentially sitting idle, and the company had about a $10 million market cap at that time. And so anyways, look, we signed a 6-month exclusivity agreement with them. We really evaluated the project in a lot of detail. Our geologists rebuilt the geological model and identified a number of high-grade areas that were underexplored, I guess. And so anyways, back in January 2020, we finalized the merger. We merged the 2 companies together. Myself and my team at Aethon took over running the company. And then we drilled these targets that we had identified, and right from the onset, I mean, we got back some excellent high-grade results. And I guess, over the last couple of years now, I mean, that's really enabled us to grow the company to where it is today. Now we have over a $200 million market cap, and the assets come a long way in a relatively short period of time.
Mm-hmm. Could you, off the top of your head, do you know the total M&A that you've been involved with, or just as a number to kind of put up on the board for people?
Sure. Me personally, in my career, it's been over $2 billion of M&A deals. I've been both on like the acquisition side, where I'm helping companies grow, especially at Lundin Mining, did a number of transactions there while I was in corporate development, really helped that company grow. And then I've been on the sales side as well. So I was at another company called Aurico Metals as the VP corporate development. We grew that company and then sold that for over $300 million. So I've been on both sides of deals, and again, well over $2 billion of deals over the past about 17 years now, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And I always appreciate that because, I mean, obviously it comes from the geology, but, mining projects aren't just science projects, right? They have to eventually be monetized. So it's nice to know that, leadership has that experience in terms of monetizing the ground, right? But on the flip side of that coin, though, could you just talk us through maybe your geologists or your on the ground team and the experience they have?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, no, I think that's a key here. I mean, we have a very, very strong exploration team. And I think, again, if you look at the track record here over the last few years, I think it, really speaks for itself. I mean, we've certainly had some of the best results of any silver company, as you mentioned, over the past few years, and all of that's shown in our slide deck. But our exploration team's led by our chief geologist, David O'Connor. He's really an experienced veteran. I mean, he's well over 40 years of experience all across the world. He's been involved in a number of large discoveries throughout his career for sure, and he's leading the way here for us in Salta now.
Excellent. So transitioning again here now, just talking about share structure and the float. I think you have, I mean, off the top of my head, fully diluted, is it 620 million shares roughly?
I think it's just under that. Yeah, just under 600 million, maybe. Yeah.
Which obviously, I mean, the name of the game when you're a pre-revenue explorer is dilution, right? But I mean, from a North American perspective, if you go to London or you go to Australia, these numbers are more normal, right? But in North America, that's a bit higher. But could you just, I mean, obviously you have an extremely exciting resource, but could you just talk us through, I mean, how did that come to be? I mean, is that just a matter of the length of time it's taken to develop this project? And then maybe are you planning on doing a reverse split at some point to try to clean up the share structure?
Sure. Yeah. So when we acquired the company again, or we merged the two companies together, it was an all-share deal. So Abra essentially issued shares to the Aethon shareholders. And so right out of the gate, I mean, we had a large number of shares. And then I'd say it was about a $10 million market cap at that time. So the first equity raise we did was at 5 cents and 6 cents and 11 cents. And when you're doing equity raises down at those levels, unfortunately, you have to issue quite a large number of shares. And so for us, it's really just a legacy thing. Look, I mean, I think since we took over running the company, we have not done a financing since the summer of 2020. So it's well over 2 years now. And so we've been very prudent here when it comes to issuing new shares, looking to minimize dilution for our existing shareholders. As you mentioned, at the right time, I'm very happy to roll back the number of shares, do a reverse split, sort of clean up the share structure, but waiting for the right market conditions for that. But yeah, that's something down the road. I mean, I think we'd be very happy to address, roll back the number of shares and kind of reset the share structure a bit. But I think, look, if you look at over the last several years, we've minimized dilution sort of every step along the way. And we raised $25 million in the summer of 2020, and that's carried us all the way till now. And we still have $13 million in the bank as of today. So we've been running the company very prudently. And, we'll address the share structure down the road sometime.
Mm-hmm. On that note, I mean, you have outstanding options and warrants. The good news is for the company is I believe those warrants continue to be exercised kind of regularly, do they not?
Correct. Yeah. So we have 2 batches of warrants, which expire next year in April and May, I believe. And yeah, those trickle in. I mean, those are both well in the money, continue to trickle in. But yeah, we'll expire by May of next year.
And I guess that's the thing, looking at this from the perspective of someone new to the story, that I watch, you've kind of been range bound in this, 39 to 48 cent range for a few months now. And I mean, probably part of that can be, first of all, the bottom has fallen out of the market for juniors and you've managed to tread water. But on the flip side of that, I mean, this overhang has probably kept a lid on the price somewhat. But for me, all these, like amazing, I mean, and I'm not trying to blow smoke here, but ridiculous kind of assays that come in and it only goes up 10% and then just it's a liquidity event. But for me, that's just an accumulation opportunity, right? So, I mean, I'm not trying to just spin things to make it sound better, but I mean, your company is developing a very strong project. And if it stays at these levels, I'll be happy to just keep chipping away, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I echo those statements there. I think, look, it's no secret. The market sentiment for all junior explorers has been pretty brutal. I'd say over more than a year now, approaching 2 years. I mean, hopefully that seems to be turning here over the last week or so. So hopefully, clearly that improves. But yeah, over that time period, we've come out with some exceptional drill intercepts, and yeah, unfortunately, it has been sell the news type scenario where we come out with these great results and investors sell on that and kind of keeps a lid. But look, I've certainly been in this industry long enough to know that once the sentiment changes and in better market conditions, we're announcing regularly exceptional drill results here on a regular basis, and we have this new discovery that I really like to talk about here. I think in a better market environment, then everyone's chasing the share price. And that's where you can see incredible returns. And so for us, I mean, we're not discouraged in any way. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, continue to add value in the ground. And no question in my mind, the market will eventually catch up here to the underlying value of the project.
Yeah, and once that bull market returns, that's exactly the kind of project you have where it's high grade but remains prospective, right? Those are the ones that catch that bid right away. Do you mind running through just ownership? I mean, I know you have Eric Sprott in there and some other institutions. Can you run through maybe what are the percentages or breakdowns of ownership?
Yeah. So Eric Sprott owns, he's still our largest shareholder, has been very supportive. He invested in the company about 2 years ago, back in our last financings in 2020. So he maintains about a 13% stake, I believe. And then we have several other institutional investors, about a dozen or so. Collectively, they own about 25 to 30% of the company. And so we've been really marketing, geared more towards institutional investors and looking to increase that percentage. We still have an excellent retail following. So very supportive retail shareholders, which I believe still account for maybe 40, 50% of all the remaining shares here.
And then just one question mark I have, you always look when I'm assessing companies, there's always a checklist that I have, one of which is management, ownership under management. And I think you're checking in at around 3%. Do you mind just explaining why that's maybe a little lower than you see in other companies?
Yeah. So it's really a very, very lean management team. And so that number that you see, 3%, I mean, it's only spread across maybe myself or chief geologist, and then really 2 members of the board that own, close to maybe 1% of the company each. So it's a very lean team. Look, if we had 25 people, it'd be a much larger number. But yeah, look, we have a lean team. I think we're all fully invested into this company, into this project. I think it's important to look at not just the percentage of shares, but the amount of skin in the game, which is like a percentage of my net worth. Like I have a huge percentage of my net worth tied up in both shares of this company and obviously options, which I'll only make money as the share price goes up. So, a very high percentage of, net worth here is tied up for just key members of the lean management team and also some of the directors as well.
Mm-hmm. And what's your average cost basis?
So I've participated in the placements that we've done. So I think the first placement maybe was 6 cents, 11.5 cents, and then 27 cents. So average cost basis would be, around there, between 6 to 27 cents. On the options, I mean, we grant options pretty much each year at the beginning of the year. So that varies greatly. I mean, options I have like 37.5 cents, and then, whatever the share price has been over the last several years here.
Perfect. So maybe we'll start swinging around to start talking about your actual projects here. But first of all, maybe let's just discuss Argentina a bit, because I think for people that, are not, people that haven't invested in Argentina before are a little gun shy, kind of rolling in the danger zone a little bit with South American jurisdictions. But I find Argentina is kind of sometimes overplayed in terms of jurisdictional risk. I mean, my understanding is that individual provinces effectively have their own ministry rights or mineral rights, right? And so you have to look on the provincial level for policy. And when you do that, Salta, the province that Diablilos is in, has a long tradition of being very mining friendly. Billions of dollars are surrounding your projects are surrounding you, right? Could you just maybe discuss with that understood? Could you just discuss maybe on the one hand advantages, but then on the other also hand the challenges of working where you are in Argentina?
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, you're 100% right there again. I mean, in Argentina, I think, for most North American investors, the easy way to think about it is it's very similar to the US. So if you have a mining project in the Gold Belt in Nevada, I mean, that's obviously a premier mining jurisdiction. Now, if you have a greenfield project in Hawaii or some place where there's zero mining, I mean, good luck getting the permits and advancing that. I mean, that's going to be an uphill battle for decades, likely. In Argentina, is the exact same way. So you have Salta, you have San Juan. I'd say by far those are the two provinces that really stand out, very mining friendly. Right around us, we're in the heart of the lithium triangle. And like you mentioned, there's billions of dollars being spent as we speak, being invested in the ground. There's these lithium projects, about 6 lithium projects being constructed and being actively built. Also on the precious metal side, Fortuna has built the Lindero gold mine a few years ago. That was over a $300 million investment. So huge amount of, mining dollars going into the ground in Salta. We're surrounded by, again, all these mining projects here. The communities are on board. They're there for the mining. So this is, and, regulations, you deal only with the provincial government, really, for your EIA approval, your environmental permits. You deal with the Salta government, which is welcoming mining with open arms. This is an ideal place within Argentina. Now, other provinces of Argentina, if you go to Mendoza, which is known for wines, if you go to, Chubut, which is anti-mining, I mean, very, very, very difficult to advance projects. Geologically, could be, some great assets there, but certainly a night and day difference. I mean, that's not at all representative of Salta. And again, San Juan, you're seeing a resurgence of mining activities. So that's really Argentina in a nutshell, I would say. I mean, certainly, like every jurisdiction has a fair amount of challenges, but in the right province, if you're doing things properly, projects are advancing, being built with plenty of community support and support from the mines minister, et cetera.
I know that Argentina, and thank you for that. Argentina, I know, and especially the last couple of years, has struggled with fairly high inflation, 70%, 80% range. Has that impacted you on the ground down there? And if so, how much? And how have you managed to try to mitigate it as well?
Yeah. So all of our cash is held in Canadian dollars and US dollars. And so we don't really hold any excess cash in pesos. Now, the peso, there's high inflation for sure. I think it's about 80% or so per year in terms of pesos. But the offset for that is the peso devalues at roughly 80% per year, or pretty close to that. So in US dollar terms, as we convert money into pesos, I mean, it takes more pesos to pay for drilling, but it's, oftentimes similar amount of US dollars that it takes to get those pesos. And so we've experienced, I think our cost per meter right now for drilling in US dollar terms is under $400 a meter US. When we started off, back in January 2020, so almost 3 years ago now, it was about $310, $320 US per meter. So yeah, there's been some inflation, but in US dollar terms, it's 10% per year or so on average. That's probably similar to other jurisdictions. Now, in peso terms, I'm sure it's, I'm guessing 300% or so, 400% of what it used to be. But again, I mean, we look at things in US dollar terms, of course.
Mm-hmm. And just for context for listeners, I just spoke to a Canadian gold explorer in New Brunswick yesterday, and they said over 12 months that their cost of drilling has gone up 50%. So, I mean, you're clocking in at much less than that, right? So I guess that's a success.
Sure.
So, do you have to build a camp there, or is this a place? Like, how close are you? I mean, do your workers have a camp, or do they go back home to their beds, or how does that go?
No. So you drive to site. So the nearest city is the major city is Salta. It has a population of a couple 100,000 people. So it's a large city, and it's about a 6-hour drive to site. So people just drive to site. It's not fly in, fly out, or anything like that. I mean, you drive to work, but you stay at camp. Because obviously it's a huge commute. You're not going to commute 6 hours each way on a daily basis. So we have a camp that sleeps about 50 people or so at site. And the camps, they sleep there, shifts like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off type of thing. And then commute back home. But there's all weather highways. I mean, we drill 12 months a year. It's relatively very good logistics, I'd say, and infrastructure in place. And it's really, again, aided by having a whole bunch of lithium projects being built all around us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So why don't we actually start talking about the Oculto project and Diablilos? I mean, so my understanding is, from what I've read, is that historically there has been a substantial amount of exploration. About 120,000 meters has gone into Diablilos historically. How much of that has Abra put into the ground themselves?
So when we started, we're now on our phase 3 program. So our phase 1 was, I believe, 15,000 meters. Our phase 2 that we just completed was 20,000 meters. And now we're drilling an additional 15,000 meters as part of our phase 3 program that's ongoing. So, I mean, we've completed 50,000 meters of it. We will complete once this existing phase 3 drill program is completed. That would have been 50,000 meters drilling over the last 3 years here.
Okay. And I'll bring up some visuals here for people to help this, but do you mind just explaining the different phases and what they've accomplished briefly?
Sure. So Diablilos is a large land package. And so within that, we have a number of targets. And so the target we've been focused on has been called Oculto. And that's where all of the resources currently based. It's close to surface, open-pittable. So phase 1, again, was on Oculto. Same with phase 2. Phase 2 was really focused on that high-grade zone within the Oculto deposit. And so we've been focused on Oculto, and that's where we have that large resource I mentioned, 110 million ounces of silver, 1.3 million ounces of gold. That's all within Oculto. Now, as part of our phase 3 program, we've just discovered over the last few months here a brand new zone, and that's southwest of Oculto. We're calling that the southwest zone, and within that, the key target is called the Jack target, and that's where we're focused right now. And this is high-grade silver, even closer to surface. It sits in the valley, and so phase 1, phase 2, all historical drilling has really been focused on Oculto. We have a large resource there, some good exploration upside still, but it's obviously been quite well drilled. But this brand new zone is where we're focused on at the moment here.
And you're solely right. And again, I'll have a visual up here for my YouTube viewers. But that Jack discovery is just crucial, right? Because you have this very strong open pit, open at depth somewhat, is like you say. But Oculto is understood or mastered.
Exactly.
But, a 500-meter step out hits ridiculous grade into Jack. And, I mean, for me, I'm not even sure I have a question here, but it's just exciting, right? I mean, if you can prove, and I mean, it extends beyond that 500-meter step out too, right? So, I mean, 800 or another kilometer strike extending into Jack, I mean, that just transforms your whole company, your whole resource model, right? Obviously, eventually this would be turning into, obviously this takes a new PEA or a new outlook on the resource, but I mean, it can all be open-pittable in the same open pit, theoretically, I assume, right?
It's likely going to be two separate pits, but you're right. I mean, this is very transformational. It's taking now, a single pit, very good economics already, but really turning it into like a mining district now. Now this is like district scale potential here, where you could have, several pits. And we haven't yet explored, we've identified a number of targets as well outside of Jack, which based on our magnetic anomalies seem to have high exploration upside potential as well. But for right now, Oculto is quite well defined. We know there's still some high grade pockets there we could drill and probably, better define the high grade resource as we've been doing over the last 2 years. But having a brand new discovery that's open for, currently 800 meters, but it's open in all directions. I think again, if investors go look at our slide deck, we have a nice graphic in there which shows this new footprint of this Jack zone based on the mag anomaly. It fits the size of 4 baseball stadiums. So this is, it's not a small high grade discovery. This is high grade, but, large scale potential. So, we've announced 5 drill results so far, and all 5 have hit very high grades of silver, like hundreds of grams of silver close to surface over, between 40 to 80, 90 meters. So some very high potential upside here for sure.
Yeah, the napkin math on the resource starts to turn into silly season a bit when you start working the numbers, right? So no, that's an exciting discovery.
Right.
So on that note, you talked about you've got. Can you just discuss? So how many holes have you drilled into Jack right now, and then how many assays are awaiting still return from the labs?
Yeah, so we've announced 5 holes. But we've drilled now, I think it's probably about 18 or so as of today. So, we have 2 rigs at site, and they drill holes on average. Each one drills a hole every 7 to 10 days. So, drilling 2 holes every 7 to 10 days here. So we've quickly, over the last couple months, we've drilled now 18 holes. And so we've announced 5. There's last time I checked, there was still 9 holes at the lab. And so every few weeks, every 2-3 weeks on average here, we expect to be announcing assay results as we've been doing. Nothing new. But, as we get back results for a couple of holes, 2, 3, 4 holes, we'll announce those. And then a few weeks later, likely announce more results.
How's turnaround time at the labs been down there?
Oh, lately it's been excellent. It's been completely back to normal. So
good.
Again, 2 to 3 weeks. We were getting back assay results. And so if you look at our press releases, every time we get a couple holes, we issue a press release. And so certainly I'd say on average, it's been 3 weeks. We get back a couple holes, 2, 3, 4 holes.
And and again, in North America, that's still a different game. It's been 8 to 10 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks is what I hear from people I discuss or chat with too. So there's another nice little advantage for South America.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So what's left? So are you drilling continuously, or is there going to be a break? How many meters are left in your current drilling campaign or your current phase?
Yeah. So our current phase 3 budget is 15,000 meters. We've already drilled more than 6,000, probably approaching 7,000. So we're well into the program there. So call it another 9,000 meters left to be drilled here. We expect to have that completed by the end of Q1. So in 2023, by the end of Q1, all of this drilling, again, is focused on this Jack target. So by the end of Q1, we'll have drilled about 40 holes, maybe 45 holes into this new zone with, on average, 25 to 50 meter spacings. So then by Q2, we'll be able to announce an updated resource estimate or a brand new resource estimate for this new Jack target. Which obviously we've already have a resource on Oculto. Now we'll have a separate resource on this new target. And then in Q2, we'll announce a pre-feasibility study on the entire project.
Mm-hmm. And so do you know, I know this is fluid, but for 2024, do you have a notion, even ballpark, of the meters you're going to be putting in? And are you going to be pursuing Alpaca or Phantasma, or where do those meters plan to go?
Yeah. First, it's, first priority is Jack. We'll see. Likely we'll need to continue drilling that, assuming things are still open there. But you're right. There's a number of other targets, Phantasma, Alpaca, which again are both to the west of our Oculto deposit. And then there's some deeper drilling as well. We haven't even focused. We're only focusing on the oxides and have been for the past 3 years now. At some stage, we'd like to focus on some deeper sulfide mineralization as well. So a number of targets to be drilled, but no, we haven't budgeted yet our next exploration campaign. And really, we want to finish this one and identify the targets and then plan that out.
Excellent. And you coached me on this prior to discussion. I'm already going to butcher it here, though. Cuepita.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Could you just explain maybe, as drilling began there, or what stage of exploration are you at there?
Yeah. So that's an entirely different project. So that's in the San Juan province of Argentina, which is known for some mega copper porphyries. And there we consolidated a large land package. It was 70,000 hectares of land that we consolidated over a year ago now. We drilled 2 holes earlier this year. And the second hole hit a discovery. So we hit 700 meters of continuous mineralization down to a depth of about 1.2 kilometers deep. So this is, large scale potential here. The grades were about 0.4% copper equivalent or so, some copper, some gold with a little bit of moly. So, excellent sign that we hit some serious mineralization in only 2 holes. And so the plan there for down the road is to drill an additional 4 deep holes, again, 1.2 kilometers deep or so. Drill 4 more deep holes, see if we can hit some higher grade zones here. And then this is a project that we would likely spin off to our shareholders down the road when it's a bit more advanced. So you could create a new copper company, spin that off to our shareholders. And the target here is like a 1 billion ton porphyry. I mean, it will take, tens of millions of dollars to drill this and, advance it. And so we would want that company to fund itself. And then, that's the way it could add value for our existing shareholders, I think.
Absolutely. And yeah, you're right. I neglected to have you introduce it as a San Juan. San Juan is also a very mining-friendly jurisdiction as well, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So why don't we jump across the border to Chile then? You have another project, Arcas? Again, my English is just terrible. Yeah, Arcas. Can you just kind of do a brief discussion around it and where it's at?
Sure. So that's similar. I mean, that's a very large land package in a very promising copper belt in the Antofagasta region of Chile. And again, I mean, similar size land package, early stage. So lots of blue sky potential. There, we had actually brought in Rio Tinto as a partner. And so Rio Tinto signed an option agreement several years ago now. They drilled 4 holes. The 4 holes didn't come back with anything significant. So they dropped the project. Now, importantly, they paid for all the concessions, so the project now doesn't cost us anything for the next 12 months or so here. And so they returned the project back to us. We own 100% of that. But yeah, we don't have a team in Chile, so we're not really focused on that. And so our goal would be to option that off to maybe another junior or something. And, we think there's lots of upside potential there for sure, but we have our plates full between our 2 projects in Argentina. So we have no plans to drill Arcas on our own. So it's really a non-core asset right now, but the potential there to do a deal with another junior who's looking for projects in Chile and add some value for our shareholders through a deal like that.
Absolutely. And I apologize. I'm going to bounce back here to Cuepita. Just to clarify, is there any above ground exploration, grab samples or trenching or anything going on, or any kind of geochem stuff?
Yeah. No. So, I mean, we've done a lot of geophysics, grab samples. Again, before us, there was historically a company that drilled like 6 shallow holes. It got back some good copper mineralization. But I think for us, I mean, the focus right now is on a big porphyry. And so that's deeper. And so, I think the geochem that we've done has identified some of these targets, but you need to drill them.
Absolutely. And so I would like to just now, again, circling back now to Oculto, close enough, right? Met testing, historically, what is it? And do you have an anticipation about maybe improvements or maybe an updated met testing that you'll release to us?
Yeah. No, there's been a lot of met testing. So this project's been around since the 90s, really. And so it's been around for, a large number of years. There's been several stages of met test work that have been completed over the years. I think there's been over like 200 samples or so analyzed. And And so in our PEA study that we announced in 2021, last year, we had recoveries of 73.5% for silver and 86% for gold. So those were the recoveries based on the test work. Now, since then, we've analyzed an additional 50 samples, 50. So we've sent a number of samples again to the lab. We're just getting back those results. And we expect to have a press release likely before the end of this year, for sure, I would say, sometime by year end, just giving an update on all the met test work that we've done here since the PEA study. But yeah, I think room for improvement for sure on the silver side, 73.5% silver. We'd like to see a higher number there. And again, we'll have some more news there as we get back the results and obviously review them.
I'm not a geo, but could you speak just even briefly about what you're doing differently than what was done in prior attempts?
Yeah, so for the MET sample, before they took really just a bulk view, and so some of the samples had different zones in them, and they analyzed that really as just one zone here. But now we've kind of segmented it. We know there's a high grade or a near surface gold zone, and then you get into the high grade silver zone, and then there's some high grade gold zones down beneath. And so we're taking representative samples. Look, I mean, the high grade silver zone is going to have different characteristics than the lower grade gold zone. And so we've really kind of segmented the project into various segments, I guess, and then analyze that, and then we'll be taking a better reflection, we feel, of the overall deposit that way.
Sure. And so just a couple of questions left here. We're kind of circling to the end here, but just ESG, can you speak to efforts that you've made or relationships with local communities or other efforts that you've done?
Sure. Yeah. So the nearest community to us is like 125 kilometers away. And so it's, quite a distance. But again, they're there for the lithium projects currently and really for welcome mining. Obviously, welcome Diablilos. We have excellent community relationships. We've supported investment in those communities. I know we've helped start up like a bakery and a laundromat, and they provide a number of services to us, and obviously that maintains an excellent relationship between the parties. And so, we have a very strong environmental team down in Salta, locals, and excellent ongoing dialogue with the communities, I think everything's going very well there.
Excellent. Could you just speak to, again, just circling to the end here, what do we have to look forward to? You've already touched on them again, but 6 to 12 months, the year 2023, what are some catalysts that investors have to look forward to with Abra? Yeah.
I mean, first and foremost, it's ongoing drill results from this brand new zone. Right now, it's open in all directions, and it's quite a large target. So look for ongoing drill results, again, every couple weeks, certainly at least once per month. We expect to have a press release with the ongoing drilling there. That's very, very exciting. And then, as I mentioned, by Q1, we'll have completed likely 45 holes into this jack target, which will be sufficient for a resource, likely an M&I resource from this jack target. That will be announced in Q2. And then also in Q2, we'll have a pre-feasibility study to be announced on the entire project. So for sure, Oculto, as well as this brand new zone here.
And I'm excited for that. I was hoping to have a conversation around this, the valuations here, but as you kind of told me prior to discussion that we have to wait for that updated PFS. So hopefully with any luck, we can meet again here in 6 or 8 months, and then we can have a nice long chat about the valuation of this company as well at that point with the updated PFS.
Thank you. My pleasure. Yeah, anytime.
Excellent. So I guess, this is it. Parting thoughts or final word to you?
Perfect. Yeah, no, thanks, Matthew. I think we covered a lot of ground. Thanks very much for taking the time. I guess key takeaways from my end for investors. Look, AbraSilver has a very exciting, unique project with, I think, lots of upside potential ahead of us here. And so our goal is very simple. Look, we're continuing to unlock value for our shareholders through the drill bit and, advance, de-risk the project. We firmly believe this project is going to become a high quality producing mine within the next few years here. So a bright future ahead for the project and certainly for the company.
Perfect. Yeah, well, thank you, John. I appreciate your time as well. I know that my interviews are a little longer. That's by design. And thank you for listening if you're out there. If you want more information on this company, head over to AbraSilver.com. They have a very strong website. As for me, you can find me under Junior Resource Investing on Spotify, YouTube, and your other favorite podcast hosting mechanism. And yeah, John, I appreciate your time.
Excellent. Thank you.
Have a good day.